Today, the Supreme Court heard potentially the most impactful case of maybe the court's existence. Now, the arguments for whether or not the Colorado Supreme Court, and more practically by association, 11 other states, do they have the right to kick Trump or any other federal candidate off their ballot? And what precedent will that set? Look, I'm not a lawyer, and I generally look at all this through the same prism as Thomas Jefferson, who said, laws are made for men of ordinary understanding and should therefore be construed by the ordinary rules of common sense. Boy, has that ship sailed. I mean, basically, his sentiment was, when things are too complicated, it doesn't benefit nor serve you or I, which is the sole responsibility of government. In this case, in my mind, doesn't meet the common sense bar on basically any level. And I think the Supreme Court kind of had this sentiment today. Even liberal justices, they punch so many holes in this thing. I don't think any of it's going to hold water. The fundamental underlying question, which I've had from day one, which, believe it or not, was actually asked by Ketanji Brown Jackson, was define an insurrection, which gave Trump's lawyer a chance to highlight the lack of any standing in this case.
No, we didn't concede that it's an effort to overthrow the government either, Justice Jackson, right? None of these criteria were met. This was a riot. It was not an insurrection. The events were shameful, criminal, violent, all of those things, but it did not qualify as insurrection, as that term is used in Section 3.
Yeah, I mean, look, it would be one thing if Trump, rode in on horseback and led, a violent militia onto the House floor to overthrow the Capitol, but he didn't do that. And there's no evidence he did or even incited it. And anyone who makes that case is just not being honest with themselves. They're just full of it. And my case to that is very simple. It's a very simple point. The overwhelming majority of people who showed up at the Capitol on January 6th, I would wager, were gun owners. And yet there were 0 guns recovered that day. Not one gun was found at the Capitol on January 6th. Kind of kills the argument of an insurrection, no? But most importantly, Trump has never been convicted of an insurrection. He's never even been charged with an insurrection. And nobody has. And to just say it doesn't make it so, like the Colorado Supreme Court did. Imagine, just for a sec, if you're sitting there at home, you get a letter in the mail saying, hey, you got to serve 15 years in jail for murder, and you look around, you're like, well, I was never convicted, nor did I have a trial for murder. I mean, that's literally what the case is here. But even more damning for the Colorado case is, and I think, again, pleasantly surprised, I can't believe I'm saying this, by another excellent question by Ketanji Brown Jackson, whether she knew it or not, was on the 14th Amendment and whether or not it applies at all.
But then why didn't they put the word president in the very enumerated list in Section 3? The thing that really is troubling to me is I totally understand your argument, but they were listing people that were barred, and president is not there.
I never thought I would agree with her as much as I did today, but here I am. Look, her point was, what office was notably absent from the 14th Amendment? Here, look at it. It says no person shall be a senator or representative in Congress or elector of president and vice president or hold any office, civil or military, under the United States or under any state. Now, it specifically has no mention of the office of the president. It does, however, specify electors of the president, which, again, layman's point of view here, folks, I don't even have an undergrad degree. All right? The intent of the amendment extended to the office of the president. You would think they would have mentioned that if they actually, meant that. I mean, they mentioned the Senate and Congress. Look, on both of these counts, the Colorado plaintiffs, they asserted a lot of legal gymnastics to inadvertently counter their own arguments. It was actually fascinating to watch. Now, our legal system is based on precedent, too. And Clarence Thomas, God bless this man, he asked for any historic examples of anything even remotely close to this case.
Do you have contemporaneous examples, and by contemporaneous I mean shortly after the adoption of the 14th Amendment, where the states disqualified national candidates, not its own candidates, but national candidates?
They went back and forth for a little while, but essentially, no answer. The Colorado attorney had absolutely nothing to that. I mean, he kept falling back to, well, the experts have filed briefs and scholars agree, but he had no legal precedent.